Now that I finished EX3, I wanted to put together a video with a few tips based on my experiences in Party Finder with things that I see a lot of people having trouble with. Think of this not as a full guide, but more of a supplementary video if you've already seen some of the strats that are common in Party Finder, but even if you haven't, some or all of this may still be useful. This is my first time making this kind of video, so let me know if you'd like to see more of these. I'll try to order everything based on where they appear in the fight when I can. Tip number 1. Raise positioning is critical. This one's for anybody with the raise, and it's super important in a way that most fights never challenge you. In this fight, there are a lot of arena changes and a lot of mechanics that can kill you before these changes happen. This means that it's important to know when a phase change is coming and where you might need to stand to cast raise before that change happens. I see a lot of death in prog parties because people are used to just raising whenever they can. This means that a lot of people come back to life only to immediately fall to their death because the arena below is gone. Instead, you need to make sure that you're positioned on a part of the arena that will still exist once the shift happens before you cast raise. This does require having an understanding of what each layout looks like. At least for the wind and ice arenas, they both have a safe spot in the middle, so if you're unsure, that always works. Just don't do that for Earth. This is especially important in Phase 2, where there are arena shifts constantly. At least here, you can use the guidelines on the ground to find out where the overlap is before you know what shift will occur. Just make sure to mid and heal up first since damage is pretty quick here. And as a last note on raises, if you raise someone while your gravity is shifted during Earth phase and you're floating away from the platform, they do not get the shift of gravity and will immediately die, so you still have to position yourself above a platform even if you aren't standing on it yourself. Tip number 2, gravity shifting. During the Earth phase, there's a purple cyclone looking thing on the ground that allows you to shift your gravity whenever you walk into it. Touch it and you float up, touch it again and you descend back to the ground. I see a lot of people having trouble with this, and they end up double tapping it and getting stuck in the air when they want to be on the ground and vice versa. I have a few pieces of advice for this one. When you want to use it, I suggest just trying to walk through it instead of wiggling around in the center. Run directly at the center and keep running straight through out the other side. If you try to wiggle in it until you see yourself floating, you might end up double shifting without realizing and potentially causing a wipe because you end up running off the platform since you thought you were floating, for example. The effect doesn't instantly shift you, so you kind of have to trust that it's going to work, especially if you're moving fast to take a sprint or tether away from the platform or to get to your tower in time. At the very start of Earth phase, when you have to take the towers while dodging the half-room cleaves, I like pointing my camera straight down and aligning myself with it so that I only have to hit right or left on my controller to get down to the platform in time. This way, I don't have to worry as much about if I actually shifted or not. Sprint here also helps too, and I use it every single time. Tip number 3, mitigate. For the Absolute Authority cheese strat, please use your mitigation as a DPS. Stacking a bunch of flares like this is heavy damage, and it takes more than just the healers and tanks to get through it safely, especially depending on your gear. Feints and addles are greatly appreciated. And aside from Absolute Authority, consider mitting the virtual shifts, especially in Phase 2 because the damage comes out quickly. Your healers will thank you for this, and if your damage is good, you probably won't see more than one instance of Radical Shift anyway. And seriously, don't be that DPS that plays like Feint and Addle don't exist. You don't want to be the reason that your party wiped the phase change because everyone thought that someone else would mid it. This is easily one of the top 3 reasons that I've seen wipes in this fight. Tip number 4, use the color markers for Coronation. The direction of the Coronation strat does not matter if you have the color markers on the outside of the arena. It does not matter if it's clockwise or counterclockwise, and you don't need to know this if those markers are there. All you have to do is look at the side of your laser. Every side has 2 markers of one color and 1 marker of a different color. The 2 matching colors are the only ones that you need to worry about. From there, just figure out which side of the triangle that you're tethered to and stand on that marker that matches the side that you're on. If you're on the left side of the triangle, stand on the left marker. That's really all there is to it. This tip works as long as your party is using the Coronation markers, which are pretty popular. I have seen more and more people using the AFK markers, however, for Phase 2, and if they are, instead you do need to actually know if it's clockwise or counterclockwise, but otherwise the positions are the same. It's just a matter of if you're moving it to the right or to the left. Tip number 5, Ice Phase. This one's more than one tip, but I wanted to talk about a few things in Ice Phase. First off, if you're having trouble seeing which icicle you're tethered to, try moving away from people before they appear. There are no stack mechanics until after the icicles fire, so this will prevent other people from blocking your vision. In the Ice Phase, everyone gets tethers if they have to extend a certain distance to avoid being knocked off the arena. Something I see people getting caught with is that while you have to extend your own tether, you have to avoid being hit by someone else's icicle as well, even if their tether has been extended to the safe distance. While it won't knock you back, you can't survive 2 hits worth of damage. Maybe unless you're a tank with heavy mint, but I wouldn't try it, nor would I recommend using that when you might want it for the mechanic after. And lastly, for Ice Phase, patience is really important. I see a lot of people panicking, and this is where a lot of bridge breaks happen. You have to trust that the people who got tethered first are going to go. And if you're the first people tethered, you just have to trust that the second people are going to wait. Don't try to predict what other people will do. Just trust in the strat, and if you're doing fixed bridges, go to the bridge that you're supposed to use. The second set of tethers have a lot of time to get to their spot because it's really close. Just be patient and you won't break any bridges. Anyway, that's all I really noticed in my time progging in Party Finder. If you have any tips that you think I missed, I'd love it if you share them in the comments. But with all that said, I hope this helped and I'll see you in the next video.